This guy's been in here for a couple days and I'm doing a water change right now, but I thought maybe I'd see if I could get him to eat on camera because I didn't originally get that in the video. I fed all the other fish sinking foods first, thinking they would leave him alone, but didn't really work out that way. Hey, it's Brock here with Uncommon Aquatics, and right now, floating in this bag is a fish that I've waited 20 years to finally be able to buy. I'll tell you a real quick story before we get into showing what kind of fish it is. So, I met my wife just a little bit over 20 years ago, and as we're getting to know each other, had a few dates, I told her I'm really into the aquarium hobby. And we actually went to a pet store together while we were out doing other things. And I showed her an arowana, a silver arowana in one of the tanks there at the fish store. I said, I almost never see these. I can't believe they have one. This would be the dream fish I wish I could have. And it was $80. So about 2 weeks later was my birthday. And she went to that same store and bought me that fish and brought it to my house. And it was heartbreaking in a way because I was really excited. I put it in the aquarium, but I only kept it for about 2 weeks because the largest aquarium I had was a 55 gallon, which is 12 inches wide. And this is a fish that gets easily 3 foot long. And there's just no way you can keep that fish in that aquarium. So I took it back and sold it back to the pet store, and I've wanted one ever since. And I primarily, when I was searching out this tank to buy, which is a 210 gallon, my primary thought process was, if I get that aquarium, I can finally get an arowana. So for anyone who's not really big into the fish keeping hobby, you might not know what an arowana is. Let's get zoomed in on it and tell you a little bit about this fish. Arowana are one of the ultra premium fish in the aquarium hobby that are kind of like the Holy Grail, along with like discus for another reason, and stingrays for their own reason. Arowana are a very expensive fish depending on the size you get them at. I was able to get this one for an affordable price because it's small. But these things get massive. They are beautiful. They're very graceful. You can see that their whole body bends in half. They've got the long trailing fins. There are 3 main types of arowana, but one of them is illegal in the US, and really the only ones I have ever seen in a pet store in my area is the silver. And they're all beautiful, but I wanted the silver for my first arowana. I may try to get an Asian arowana at some point in the future, or a Jardini. So arowanas are a very powerful jumper. In nature, they will jump out of the Amazon River to catch bugs and even birds that are flying overhead. They stay right up at the top of the water, have a big trapdoor type of mouth, and will eat anything they can get in their mouths. But outside of a fish that is small enough for them to swallow in one bite, they're not a mean or aggressive fish at all. If you guys have been following along, you're thinking, dang Brock, you've put way too many big monster type fish in this aquarium. You're already overstocked. That's still partially true. All these are juveniles, and I may have to make some decisions as they get bigger. But it's not as overstocked as you might think. One reason is I moved the angelfish and the geophagus into the 125 gallon. I moved the parrots, 2 of the 3 parrot cichlids, into one of my 55 gallons. And my fire eel died. I had ick in this aquarium at one point, and I treated it, and everything else got over that infection. But I think that's what caused my fire eel to die. I'm not sure. Sometimes fish just die. But I've still got all the bichures. I've got a really nice assortment of 3 to 5 inch South American and Central American cichlids. And this arowana will now be the showpiece fish of this aquarium. I already know I'll get comments telling me that a 210 gallon is not big enough. And it's not big enough to keep that fish for life. I can't have a 3-foot fish in a 2-foot wide aquarium. You can, but it's not ideal. So my intention is to get a larger tank for this, but I think 210 gallons, this is about a minimum that I would even start with. Getting this fish and putting it in a 55 gallon, it's going to outgrow that tank in 3 months. It just doesn't make sense. I think you need to be at least this big to even start. And I've waited a long time to own this fish. They're so beautiful and so graceful. I say we let it out of the bag. Okay, so he's kind of hiding there at the back. I just did a water change and cleaned out my canister filters, so the water is a little bit cloudier than it normally is. Also, this aquarium needs more filtration, and I've got a new filter that I've never tried before that is supposed to be delivered tomorrow. But arowana being such strong jumpers, one thing you have to do is make sure that you have heavy, strong lids that are completely sealed, or they will just flat out find a way out of your aquarium. It's not really if, it's when with them getting out. Now, one cool thing about this specific arowana is I had it ordered in to my favorite local store, and rather than quarantine, I should be quarantining before adding him to this tank, but essentially I have a good relationship with the local pet store owner, and he quarantines them for me. He's had this fish for 3 or 4 weeks, and he's got it pellet trained, and it's a very healthy, active fish for him. And he lives near, his store is nearby my house, so our water parameters should be very similar, and the transport is not near as traumatic for it as I bring it straight home and get it into the tank. I also need some better lights on this tank. It's overwhelmingly bright in just the few areas where I have the lights at. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments of the video. Tell me your experience with silver arowanas or any other type of arowanas or monster fish, or your experience with large tanks like this. I have another YouTube channel that is my full-time job, and what I've learned from that is that the most awesome thing a YouTube channel can be is a community of people who share their opinions. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. What do you think of this fish? So I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.